Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
What's poppin'? Fantasy champs? My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always as Poppin' Rick.
What's up?
Hopefully you enjoyed your wonderful Thanksgiving. And we don't stop. We don't stop grinding and working for you guys because we have starts and sits for week 12.
Yeah, we're totally not pre-recording this.
Yeah, totally pre-recorded. So I will edit it on Friday though.
No, we're recording this on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, on Thanksgiving, guy.
While the games are going on.
But anyway, we got week 12 starts and sits for this episode. We're going to try to get in and out real quick. And try to give you the content as fast as possible. So before we do that, check our website, fantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcasting platforms, please leave a review, share this podcast with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, like, and comment down below any questions you may have for us. Like I said, going to try to make this a quickie.
A quickie?
Yeah.
That's what she said.
All right. I see I laid it up on a freaking silver platter for you, and it took you a couple minutes.
I had to think about it. I was like, what?
All right. So, Rick, I didn't discuss these starts and sits with you at all.
Yeah, we're just going right into it. That's all right.
Going right into it. So you'll see them. Not that they're bad. But there's some wacko players in here, I'll tell you.
Yeah, you got some crazy takes.
Crazy
I like
takes?
It. Well, yeah, we'll see.
Hold on. Less crazy now that I added the junior to his name. All right, let's start. Starts. The number one guy we have on this list is Jeff Wilson Jr. Versus Houston. He obviously, I think he had a bye week this past week. Is that correct?
Yep.
And I think he was on a trade. He was on a sell show.
Yeah. And I said it might have been a week early, kind of like Najee Harris.
Right. He had 16 against Chicago after they traded for him at the trade deadline in week 7 or 8, or I can't remember when the trade deadline is, but and then he had 16, and then he had 22, and now he's going up against Houston, who is one of the easiest rush defenses in the NFL. They currently give up 28.9 fantasy points per game to the running back position. Just porous. It's the worst in fantasy football. So this should be, I would imagine, an easier game for Jeff Wilson, and he should have a good game. But, there's always the off chance that he doesn't for whatever reason. When he gets the ball and he gets a full gamut of work, when he was with the 49ers earlier this season, when he had 18, 12, 18, and 17 touches.
Yep.
Or just those are touches on the ground. When he was getting work of 15 touches or more, he had 12 fantasy points, 11 fantasy points, 13, and then 20. And then since he's gotten to Miami, he's had a game with 12 touches and then a game with even more touches than that. But he had 16 and 22 since he got there. So Houston, like I said, easy matchup. He's going to get the work. This should be a day where he comes in and he scores a lot of fantasy points.
Yeah, it's just like he's been good so far. It feels like he's kind of taking control of that Miami backfield that has been scoring a lot of points. That Dolphins team right now on offense is just dominating, especially bad teams. So it's going to continue. That trend will continue this week against Houston, who has been horrible. I unfortunately watch pretty much every NFL game, so I've seen pretty much every NFL team, and I think Houston is the worst team I've seen. I think they are the worst team in the NFL.
The worst team ever.
Their run defense is awful as well. Yeah. So, you combine that with like the Mike McDaniel, San Francisco style running attack. It just feels like this is a lock for Jeff Wilson to have a good week. Yeah. I even think you could start Mostert if you needed a flex too.
Whoa.
I think both of these guys could eat this week.
All right. Number 2 on the starts and sits list is Curtis Samuel versus Atlanta. Rick, you have Curtis Samuel, so why don't you enlighten me to why that's a good matchup?
I don't know. You tell me. No, it's a good matchup. Atlanta this year has been just horrendous to wide receivers.
34 points per game.
Yeah, wow, that's really bad. And the Washington football team or Commanders or whatever you want to call them, have been pretty good this year, especially recently. Really good recently. and Heineke's kind of helped get that team going.
Mm.
And Curtis Samuel has been really solid all year. Been a good flex. He's the wide receiver 20 right now in PPR, so he's been very solid. I will say,
Okay.
as someone who has Curtis Samuel, I've been trying to trade him away all week. And if you look at his target share the last 4 weeks,
4, 4, 4, and 2.
Yeah.
What's going on? Is that because of Taylor Heineke?
It's. I think it is. Heineke's like he McLaurin is his guy, and then they just run the ball 40 times a game.
Yeah.
And
then
I think in a negative game script though, you would see Samuel with more targets because he's actually been getting carries. You can't see the carry numbers, but he's been getting like 5 or 6 carries a game. They're using him kind of like Debo in a weird way. In a much worse way, I guess, because he's not getting a lot of targets.
Mm-hmm.
But still, he against Atlanta, like this might be the last week that you want to start Curtis Samuel. But I would say he is a good start this week.
I would start him this week and then use this if you're still able to trade, use this opportunity to trade Curtis Samuel away.
Yeah.
Like Rick has been doing, because I think it was only like the first 7 weeks of the season, like it was only bound to come to an end in terms of the target share. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
he's not a good enough player to demand that much target share. And I think, the other thing that you have to correlate back to this is what week did Brian Robinson get back? Was that week 5?
Oh yeah, I think so.
And like when that happened and they started to figure out what they wanted to do, which is not great with Brian Robinson, I honestly think Antonio Gibson went and started playing in the slot, which is where Curtis Samuel plays.
Well, it's not only that
might be
but
affecting his, ceiling in terms of target share.
Yeah, I watch a lot of Commanders games.
Oh, that's fun.
I mean, lately they've been winning. They're on like a 4-game win streak.
Oh boy.
But they just, dude, I think outside of like the Titans, they're up there with they run the ball the most, and it's like Gibson and Brian Robinson get a ton of carries. And Curtis Samuel, before Brian Robinson was there, he was getting like 5 carries a game, 5-6 carries a game to go with the target share. And I think with Brian Robinson back, not only did he lose the carries as much as he was getting, but he's also losing the target share due to the team throwing the ball a lot less. And Heineke too. I think Heineke just like his first read's Terry McLaurin. If it's not there, he either just chucks it or he runs or goes to his dump off option. Like it's just McLaurin every time. And you look at McLaurin's stats the last couple of weeks, he's getting double-digit targets. And all of a sudden, Terry McLaurin's back to being he's he's actually wide receiver 13 on the year, almost a low end wide receiver 1 because the last couple of weeks he's just been getting almost 10 targets a game with Taylor Heineke. But the team also just doesn't throw the ball a lot. I think last week, I want to say, Heineke had 15 completions last week, and then the week before against the Eagles, I want to say he had 17 completions, and they ran the ball 45 times. So,
definitely.
All that being said,
I like to start.
This is probably last week to do it, but it's a good start.
And then number 3 and the final guy on our starts list is Allen Robinson, and I keep getting like roasted for Allen Robinson. Like, okay, I get it. I get it. Like, in the home league, it's like, oh, you thought Allen Robinson was going to be good. He sucks. I'm like, okay, fine. He sucks. I get it. I was wrong. But he's on my bench. What can I do about that? Better than anyone else on the waiver wire. Sheesh. Anyway, playing Kansas City this week. I don't know if you agree with this one or not. But Cooper Kupp is out. And in last week, you would think that Allen Robinson would come in and get, maybe slightly more target share. Not really sure where the targets went.
Tyler Higbee, I think, had more.
Great. Nice.
That was about it.
But the one thing that I do think, like, the target share didn't increase for Allen Robinson, which, I do think will change. Like, I think, he'll go from 5-6 targets a game to, like, 8, maybe 9 targets a game without Cooper Kupp in there at some point. But, I mean, if that doesn't happen, I apologize, and I got to stop with this Allen Robinson thing. But, like, he had 14 points this week and scored a touchdown. I think the one thing that is a steady, like, definite is when they get into the red zone, they start throwing it to Allen Robinson. And because there's no Cooper Kupp, he's going to get red zone targets. So if this team gets in the red zone, it'll be good. Only issue is Matt Stafford got hurt again.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you?
And they got what is that guy? Brock? No, not Brock Purdy. Brett. Who the hell's starting quarterback? I think they're going to start a rookie.
He's not a rookie. He's been on the team for a couple years as like a third stringer. Oh my gosh, what is his name? I got to look him up.
It's not him. Not Brett Rapin, right? Well, either way, that does scare the crap out of me, but KC's given up a lot of fantasy points a game to the wide receiver position, so I think there could be a game where Allen Robinson does have success. It already sounds like Rick does not agree with this one. I totally...
Bryce Perkins is starting.
Bryce Perkins. Yeah, he's a rookie.
Is he?
Yeah.
I thought he's been on the team for a couple years.
Anyway, give me your thoughts on this, and then if you don't like it, give me a replacement.
Well, okay. Give me a replacement right now. No, it's not a bad one because I do think like he's going to get probably the most opportunity on the Rams this week, and it's a favorable matchup. Mm-hmm. The only problem is that the Bryce Perkins thing really does hurt. And if you look at Perkins played half the game last week, he only had 10 pass attempts and he had 5 rushes. He's a rushing quarterback, so it's like you might only see like 20 pass attempts from the Rams this week. So it that is kind of gross. And you got to hope for a touchdown or a big play from Robinson, or maybe just a high target share. Who knows? Maybe Perkins 50%. Is in love with Allen Robinson. Yeah. So it is possible, and it's not a bad matchup. So not a bad play. I'm a little worried about their situation there. You might disagree with this one, but I would say Garrett Wilson is a really good start this week. With Zach Wilson out of the picture
against the Chicago Bears.
The Bears defense has been horrible the last couple of weeks. And in the beginning of the year without Zach Wilson, Garrett Wilson was having monster games and was getting 8, 14, and 11 targets. And then when Zach Wilson came back, he hasn't had double-digit targets since then. He had 9 against Buffalo, and he had a great game, but hasn't had the same amount of target share he did in those first couple weeks of the season. I think it's possible he does that this week against the Bears.
Okay, sounds good. Let's get to the sits on the show. And these ones I think Rick will agree with a little bit more.
Yeah.
Some of them are softballs, but DJ Moore versus the Denver Broncos. DJ Moore has been garbage this year, and they are switching back to Sam Darnold. So I don't know what they're doing because I feel like Baker Mayfield comes in, he plays well, and then they don't start him the next week. It's like they put Tucker in. This is like happened 3 weeks ago. They put Tucker in. Tucker blew. They started him. He blew.
Walker.
Did I say Tucker? What the
PJ Tucker.
Yeah, he's a freaking basketball player. PJ Walker came in like 3 weeks ago. He had started a couple of weeks prior, and they said he was the starter. He came into the game. He sucked. He started, and then they had, Baker Mayfield come in, and he threw a couple of touchdowns. And he got the team, not back into the game, but he got it competitive again. And then the next week, they're like, no, we're sticking with P.J. Walker. And then they put P.J. Walker in the game, and he sucked. And then they put Baker Mayfield in, he scored a touchdown. He did okay. And then the next week, they said, you know what? We're going to start Sam Darnold. What does Baker got to do to get on the field? I don't get it. Anyway, so this week, Sam Darnold's coming in and playing, and, I think, Moore had some good games last year with, Sam Darnold in at quarterback. I just don't know how it's going to pan out for that, but they are playing a tougher defense, one of the better defenses in the NFL. They give up 21 fantasy points a game to the wide receiver position, which is the second toughest matchup in all fantasy football for wide receivers. I'm going to sit him this week. I don't think he's any good, and I don't think he should be in a starting lineup until he proves that he can be any good anyway. So I would say sit him until further notice.
Yeah, I've had my rants about DJ Moore, so I've been pretty open about how I feel, and I don't think he should be in your lineups either, and it's also a very tough matchup. I'm not saying this as a positive, okay, but I'm just saying that Sam Darnold is starting this week, and last year he did kind of force the ball to DJ Moore. So we might see some increased targets I'm not saying to start him because I don't want to start him because you look at 2 weeks or two or 3 weeks ago, he played the Bengals, had 6 targets in that game for 2 catches. I think it could be something like that. Like he's going to get like 7 or 8 targets and he gets like 3 catches for like 30 yards. So I'm not starting DJ Moore at this point. He's off my radar. And it's also a tough matchup. But that would be the DJ Moore thing to do, right? Mm-hmm. You have 3 bad games in a row, and then you have the hardest matchup you could possibly have, and he gets 28 fantasy points. Right. So I could see that because it's just DJ Moore. But I'm not starting DJ Moore.
Yeah, me either.
Unless I want self-harm.
This one's a little tougher.
Okay.
It hurts a little bit.
Okay.
It's Christian Watson at Philadelphia. And we talked about him being a bye, which he is, and possibly being a superstar at the end of the season, breakout Amon-Ra St. Brown type player. And if that does end up happening, he's going to have a freaking legendary game against Philly. But I'm benching him this week because I don't think that it's a good matchup. And I believe in Christian Watson, but the target share has not been there yet. And he's basically been touchdown dependent. And at this point, when does Aaron Rodgers check out? Because they don't have a shot to make the playoffs. Like, it's very slim. They got to beat a lot of teams down the stretch, including Philadelphia in this game. So, like, this game right now against Philly is their whole season. And, I think Rodgers will try to step up to the plate. But if they're losing the game, like, he's just going to check out, and that's going to be it. So, I don't think this is a great matchup for our boy Christian Watson, and I would sit him this week against Philly. They give up 24 fantasy points a game to the wide receiver position, and Rodgers likes to spread the ball around, so should be your best hope with Watson if you start him this week is a touchdown, and I don't know if that'll happen.
Yeah, man. And that matchup is just so tough. Philly's defense has been amazing. The only team to score points on them is the freaking Commanders, of course.
The man does.
But, yeah, I don't think Watson – and he's been amazing the last couple of weeks, but it's really been touchdowns, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah.
Only 4 catches in both those games. Mm-hmm. And 5 – he has 5 touchdowns with 8 catches. So, I don't think the touchdown's going to happen. Mm-hmm. I think he's established himself, though, to the point where he still will get, at worst, I think, like 6 targets.
Right.
So he's going to have a floor, maybe like 7 or 8 fantasy points, but I don't see him getting a big game this week. I don't even see him getting probably more than 12 fantasy points.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's talk about the final sit of the week. And he is one of our waiver wire pickups. It's Samaje Perine at Tennessee. Now, the real question is Joe Mixon. Because there are going to be people who pick this kid up and are like, I got to start him. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you do that, you're going to get you're going to get rocked. You're going to make that mistake. So Joe Mixon is still in concussion protocol. There's a chance that he does play this week. But you know how the NFL is with concussions after the whole Tua thing. So I have a hard time believing that Mixon plays this week. So picking up Samaje Perine was a ode to the injury to Joe Mixon and him having to start. And after further review, I'm not excited about this matchup against Tennessee. I'll tell you. He did have 30 points against Pittsburgh this week, but I don't think he's going to have a superstar huge game against Tennessee. I think it's going to be a football game where Tennessee controls the clock, and Burrow is going to have to throw it to keep him alive. Against the running back position, the Tennessee Titans give up 16 points a game, so not a great number for Samaje Perine in this game. I would sit him. If you feel like you want to start him, like, all the power to you, but I am staying away from this.
Yeah, I'd probably sit him too. Maybe if you have Joe Mixon and you don't have any other options, like, and you have your handcuff and Perine, I think that's acceptable to start him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not going out of my way to start him either. That matchup is tough. And look, he had an amazing fantasy game, but he had 3 receiving touchdowns. That's not happening again. On the ground, he wasn't that good. He only had 2 yards a carry. And then kind of a side note, but Chris Evans was inactive, and he's their third running back, and he's been mostly inactive all year. But if Mixon's out, he's going to be active, and they're probably going to throw him in and give him some work. I know last year in games that Mixon missed, they kind of split. P. Ryan was the guy that had the majority of the work, but it was kind of like a 60-40, 70-30 type of thing. So so Evan, it won't be like a full workhorse type of role.
Right.
Evans, I think, will have a couple touches. So if Mixon is out, even if Mixon is out, I don't think P. Ryan is a great play. And then there's a chance that Mixon gets cleared like last second and ends up playing, and then you're really screwed.
I thought, like I said, I thought Samaje Perine was a decent pickup this week, you know, obviously in case like Joe Mixon was out and just sheer like volume.
I think if you had Mixon and you have Perine as the handcuff and you don't really have a great backup running back, then it's good to plug and play him.
Yeah, definitely. But like if you dumped $100 on waiver budget on him,
there was a league where I saw that.
I was like, you guys are desperate.
How much did he go for in our home league? 36?
Was it 50? No, 36.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 36. Two bids. One for 20, one for 36. It's big spenders over there. We had a bid for Latavius Murray for 105.
Someone bid 100 and lost.
Yep.
That's tough.
I was actually talking to the person who wanted to put a claim in on him, and he said, "What should I bid?" And he was like, "I should do like 55, right?" And I'm like, "I don't know, that's tough. I feel like there's gonna be some idiot that puts in a huge bid." So he ended up bidding 105 and got him. I was like, "Why do you keep all your waiver budget?"
For that, I guess.
But anyway, there you go. Starts and sits for the week. We still got a little bit of football. Oh, whoa. Ooh, the audio just rambled out. I'm gonna try that again, guys.
Okay.
There you go. Starts and sits, week 12. Hopefully you enjoy your Sunday. I feel like after Thanksgiving, there's not a lot of Sunday games, so it gets wild. But we still got trading targets going into week 12 and into week 13. So be sure to check that out. We'll see you later, guys.
See you.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube, and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.